Hello! In this video, we'll discuss how to synthesize the literature on a topic. Synthesizing the literature is a process where you read several sources and identify the significant information that's relevant to your topic, then form a conclusion about what the sources as a group say about the topic. When you're working on this process, it's very easy to accidentally slide into summary instead of synthesis. A summary, which you want to avoid, is just a recap of facts. A summary lists the findings from one source at a time. Here's an example of a summary. According to Smith, play therapy is beneficial for preschool-aged children. According to Jones, play therapy is not beneficial. Washington's 2017 study showed that preschool children who engage in more social play are 7% happier. This list restates the findings from one study after another in a list. There's no analysis or interpretation or understanding of what the three sources combined have to say about the topic. Instead of this one-at-a-time summary, you should aim for synthesis instead. A synthesis integrates multiple sources into a single conclusion. It only includes the information that's important to the topic at hand, not a recap of everything about the source. Finally, and most importantly, a good synthesis adds your analysis and evaluation of the source's findings. Here's an example of a good synthesis. Most studies have found that play therapy contributes to preschool children's well-being, but it is unclear whether older children also benefit from play therapy. Notice how the statement includes 5 different sources, 3 in the first part and 2 in the second part. Each of our claims integrates the findings from several sources. It's definitely not just one-at-a-time recaps. Additionally, we're analyzing the important ideas from the sources, comparing them to each other, and pointing out where they agree and disagree. Both summary and synthesis are in your own words. It can be easy to confuse them. This table illustrates the difference between summary and synthesis. The key takeaway: you should aim to organize your information by topic, only include the most significant information from the sources, combine multiple sources, and demonstrate your own analysis and evaluation. Another difference between summary and synthesis is how synthesis transforms information. When you synthesize information, you analyze it and filter it through your own interpretation. That process creates new meaning and conclusions from what you've learned. The purpose of synthesis is to transform existing information into new, larger understanding or insight. When you write a synthesis statement, you are trying to accurately show the relationships between sources. There are many different kinds of relationships, so you may use a lot of different words to describe this. Here are some examples of verbs you often see in synthesis statements: agrees, disagrees, concurs, expounds upon, goes even further, contradicts, confirms, clarifies. Here are some examples of good synthesis statements. In a real synthesis statement, you would have in-text citations showing which information came from which sources. Much of the recent literature points out that capital punishment does not deter crime, which contradicts previous studies showing that it does deter crime. Note the first part and the second part each integrate multiple sources that agree with each other. However, the statement makes it clear that those two groups of sources contradict the overall findings of the other group. Another example: not only does the literature agree that capital punishment does not deter crime, some literature suggests that capital punishment may in fact cause more crime. Again, we have a two-part sentence, and each part cites the overall findings from different groups of sources. However, in this case, the second group isn't contradicting the first group. They're agreeing, and their findings go even further than the first group. Now you know the purpose and structure of a synthesis statement. When you're faced with a stack of books, articles, or web pages to synthesize, how do you approach it? Analyze each source. In a scholarly article, you would generally focus on 3 sections. First, read the abstract. Next, read the introduction section. This is also sometimes labeled as the background or the literature review. Finally, read the discussion section, which is usually near the end. That's where the author often highlights their key findings and the implications of their work. While reading the article, identify the core ideas. What information can you pull out that is especially significant and relevant to your topic? Look for connections and patterns. Do a lot of the articles discuss similar significant information? Remember that the articles don't need to agree with each other. You just want to see if their findings relate to a common topic or pattern, even if they contradict each other. As you find those connections and patterns, identify the core ideas that appear in some, most, or even all of the articles. Synthesize the information about that shared core idea from several articles and write a statement that accurately explains what sources combined together found about this topic. I hope this video has helped you understand the purpose, structure, and approach to creating a synthesis statement. If you need any help with your research, remember to ask your librarian.